Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to the second edition of International Tax Center for Research and Development, the tax segment. My name is Madabuchi Obina Emmanuel. Today, I'll be taking you on withholding tax. Recall that in our last discussion, we discussed about the Nigerian tax system, where I mentioned that we have the tax administrators, we have the tax payers, we have the tax legislation, which makes up the Nigerian tax system. But I also told you about the different types of tax that we have. We have the company's income tax, personal income tax, petroleum profit tax, value-added tax. However, today we'll be discussing about withholding tax. Withholding tax is not a different type of tax. It's an advance payment for tax. In our consulting, in what we've seen from the reports, we've noticed that Nigerian tax to GDP ratio, it's very low compared to other African countries. And this could be, one of the reasons could be non-deduction of withholding tax by businesses. And the challenge is a lot of businesses, individuals, don't know what withholding tax is. So withholding tax is an advance payment of tax. You are not paying a separate tax. And we have the laws, the regulation that guides withholding tax. The withholding tax is under the Companies Income Tax Act regulation, and also you also find some regulation known as the withholding tax regulation. Also, the personal income tax regulation under Section 68, Section 72 also guide the withholding tax. So this is the legal framework for withholding tax. The company income tax Section 78 to Section 81 talks about withholding tax. Now, withholding tax is applied to specified transaction, and it gives you a tax credit against income tax liability. So when you deduct withholding tax from any payment you are making, you are supposed to get a withholding tax credit note. So it therefore means that in withholding tax, you are making a payment as a vendor. I am a vendor. I own my own business. I gave a contractor, someone a contract to repair my plant or my generator. So what do? The cost of the repair is 100,000 naira, and I'm supposed to pay the person 100,000 naira. Now, looking at the withholding tax, I'm not supposed to pay the person the entire 100,000 naira. I'm to withhold 5%. Looking at the nature of the contract, 5% of that 100,000 naira, which is 5,000 naira, needs to be deducted and remitted to either the State Internal Revenue Services or the Federal Inland Revenue Services. So, in making payments, you don't pay the entire 100,000 naira. In making payments, you don't pay the entire 100,000 naira, but you deduct 5% withholding tax. Now, the withholding tax rate varies, and you need to be aware of the withholding tax rate. Now, the withholding tax on dividend, interest, and rent is 10% for companies and 10% for individual. The withholding tax rate for royalty is 10% for companies, 5% for individual. The withholding tax rate for hire of equipment, motor vehicle, plants, and machinery is 10% for companies, 5% for individual. Withholding tax rate for commission, consultancy, technical and management fee, legal fees, audit fees, and other professional fees is 10% if it involves a company and 5% if it involves an individual. The withholding tax rate for building, construction, and related activity, excluding one single delivery, survey, and installation, is 5% for both companies and individual. The withholding tax rate for director's fee that's for only individual, because an individual must be a director. A company cannot be a director. Is 10%. And finally, the withholding tax rate for all type of contracts and agency agreements other than sales in the ordinary course of business, other than sales in the ordinary course of business is 5% for companies and 5% for individual. I will hang up here, and if you need further inquiry, more insight into the withholding tax, you can contact us at International Center for Tax Research and Development, or you visit us in our head office CSC building at Marina Road, and you can reach us using our email or our phone number on the screen. Thank you once again for listening to this session. In our next segment, I will throw more insight into the withholding tax.